If you look at India and Pakistan, they were going at it. 7 planes were shot down. 7 brand new, beautiful planes were shot down, and they were going at it, 2 big nuclear powers. If you look at
welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. Donald Trump has said it for the 54th time that he was the one to mediate between India and Pakistan during Operation Sindoor. And his talk didn't end there. This time he said that 7 planes were shot down. And I'm going to quote him. He said that 7 beautiful, brand new planes were shot down during Operation Sindoor. Now, this is the trickiest subject about which neither Prime Minister Modi ever breaks his silence, neither the people from the armed forces. They are tight-lipped because of the national interest element and because of the national security issues as well. So what we're trying to understand is that why is Donald Trump repeatedly saying this? No, knowing very well that all this is coming at the cost of Modi's political constituency. Now, say, for example, Rahul Gandhi's tweet, and that was quite a hard-hitting one. Trump is insulting Modi in country after country. Latest is South Korea. Repeated that he used trade to frighten Modi into stopping Operation Sindoor. Said 7 planes were shot down. Don't be scared, Modi ji. Find the courage to respond. So look at this tweet by Rahul Gandhi, and similarly, Jairam Ramesh has also questioned on the same line, giving account that this was the 54th time that Donald Trump has said this. Now, what I want to understand today is that why is Donald Trump repeatedly doing this? Is he deliberately trying to put pressure on Prime Minister Modi? Joining me this evening is a very special guest, international affairs expert, Dr. Muqtedar Khan, who's an Indian-American academician and a professor in the Department of Political Science and International Relations at the University of Delaware. He has his own YouTube channel as well, which is called Khanversations. Thank you, Dr. Muqtedar. It's wonderful to have you on the program. I think it was in April when I had interviewed you last for this channel when we met in Hyderabad. And now, today we are interviewing you. But the trickiest question is that what is Donald Trump thinking? And he's going on repeating the same thing over and over again. In every trip he makes to whichever country he goes, he brings in a reference of Prime Minister Modi and India and Pakistan and how he mediated. What is he trying to achieve?
Thank you for having me, Neelu, and hello to all of your viewers. There are several things that Donald Trump is trying to accomplish. One is that he desperately wants to win a Nobel Prize. There was an exchange with Obama several years ago in which Obama had said very sarcastically that you have won it only once and I have won it twice. So now Trump has also won it twice, but where Trump falls behind is in the fact that he does not have a Nobel Prize. So Trump, I think, has some kind of a complex with Obama and he wants to overcome. In fact, many people argue that the reason why he went after Harvard is because Harvard accepted Clinton and Obama's daughters, but not Trump's son. But there is an immediate response. See, now Japan is going to nominate him for a Nobel Prize. So there is this, so wherever he goes, he's reminding people by saying, look, I made peace between 8 conflicts is what I have basically stopped, and I'm president of peace. And that is an invitation for the receiving person to endorse. So he's definitely irritated by India because India did not, I don't understand why India did not immediately join Pakistan and other countries in nominating Donald Trump, because the Gaza was a good excuse. You know, Modi could have said at least that Gaza alone earns. Gaza hi kafi hai, he could have said, I could have written the slogan for him. You know, Gaza is enough for a Nobel Prize, and he could have just ignored the discussions about Operation Sindoor.
Saying that Donald Trump is desperately wanting to hear from Prime Minister Modi that, my dear Donald Trump, I'm nominating you for the
Yes.
Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, and he's made it an ego thing. And Donald Trump is being very careful. If you look at the Diwali discussions, right? In the Diwali discussions, he made a very cryptic comment. He says, I don't want to destroy anybody's career, he said, if you remember. So
Yes.
people were wondering, like, whose careers? In Pakistan, Asim Munir's career is not dependent on public opinion. So it has to be Modi, whose career is dependent on what? So I have a feeling that the Indian government has been a bit more frank with Donald Trump and said, look, if you keep putting this pressure, then Modi cannot respond because it is going to really destroy Modi's image as, you know, the one with 56-inch chest and a macho foreign policy. All of that will be undermined, and the opposition will destroy his career. I think that is what he has been told either by J.D. Vance or even Tulsi Gabbard, or someone has told him that. But he's escalating. It's not just that he said it 54 times. He has escalated. This is the first time he says 7 new shiny planes or something, right? Who has
Yes.
new planes? Who
Yes.
has new planes? It is India which has new planes, the Rafale that India has taken recently. Pakistan has not received any new jet fighters in a long time, unless he's saying that JF-17. Yeah.
Trump given the biggest headline for India? Because so far, for the last 6 months, I think it's almost 6 months now to Operation Sindoor, and not once we have heard about any statement about how many jets were down or how many planes were down during the Operation Sindoor. And this is for the first time that he makes a mention of 7 brand new, beautiful planes.
So he has said many planes in the past, right? So I don't think that all 7 are India's. There is no doubt. He has been told that overall 7 planes have been lost. And I think that the Indian people in the Air Force and others have acknowledged indirectly that there were losses in the first 1 hour
Yes.
of the thing. You know, what is also interesting from a military perspective, that the first 1 hour of Operation Sindoor was the biggest air battle since World War II. There were about 120 fighter jets. So people like me and other scholars should be given the opportunity to study this, because it has a lot of implications for future military doctrine. But I think Donald Trump is also threatening Modi and saying that if you say anything negative to me, I will then tell them whose planes were shot down. And if Donald Trump starts saying that India lost 3 planes, 4 planes, or 5 planes, then I can tell you this much, that except for 40% of India, the whole world will believe him. People don't seem to think that when Donald Trump says that, they know that America has intelligence. Not only does Pakistan share intelligence with the US, American government officials, especially in the Department of Defense, want as much knowledge about this, all the battles that go on, because it gives them an opportunity to assess Chinese technology. Like, how good were the JF-17s? How good was the S-400 from Russia that India was deploying? So I'm sure the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is bigger than the CIA, the DIA is bigger than the CIA in the sheer size of it, they are all over this battle collecting as much data as possible. I will not be surprised if Donald Trump knows more about what happened in Operation Sindoor than even Modi does, because he has direct access to intelligence from Pakistan also, which Modi does not.
Right. What you're pointing out, I was just about to ask you that is this a tactical positioning by Donald Trump, whereby he keeps on telling Prime Minister Modi that, look, if you don't listen to me or if you don't agree to my terms and conditions, I know much more than what you know, and I can reveal it anytime. Is that the message he's trying to hammer in with his each?
I think someone should give him that song, that chup chup kare ho zarur koi baat hai. You know, I think that is what is happening with Modi. Modi is avoiding meeting Donald Trump. So, for example, Modi did not go for the UN General Assembly meeting. He did not go for the Sharm el-Sheikh meeting that he was invited. He skipped Kuala Lumpur. In fact, there was so much chatter here in Washington that in Kuala Lumpur, the two parties would announce a final agreement between the India and the US bilateral. But I also think that Donald Trump, you know, besides trolling India just for the fun of it, he has realized that he can troll India, the whole country, by just one tweet, and he's doing that. But I think he's using this pressure of Operation Sindoor to gain advantage in the trade agreement. And from what we have heard a little bit, that India is already on the verge of making two big concessions on the trade agreement. One is that, for one, they don't really have a choice with the Russian oil thing, with the additional sanctions that have imposed. So India is going to reduce purchase of Russian oil. That's one concession that India can claim it's a concession, but it's actually not an option anymore. The second thing is that India has agreed to buy something called soya meal. It is not soya beans, but soya meal. Soya meal is from soya beans. If you extract soya oil, what is left is soya meal. In the US, we use it to feed poultry and other animals. In India, I don't know what they're going to do with soya meals, but they're trying to say, okay, we can reduce the deficit if you buy soya meals, and this helps your agricultural segment. So I think I think Prime Minister Modi is thinking that as it is, once the deal is announced, I think India is also not interested in announcing the deal before the Bihar election, because the moment it becomes apparent that India has made concessions to Trump, Narendra's surrender will become a big slogan. So that slogan will come back into play with credibly. So I think we might see more progress after the Bihar elections, in my opinion. But yeah.
After Bihar elections, like what you have said, Modi's political credibility has already gone for a toss. If you look at the graph for the last 6 to 8 months, or what has Donald Trump really done to Prime Minister Modi and his image?
So he has done several things. So for example, he has marginalized Modi. So for example, if you look at 2023 was the best year, I think, diplomacy-wise for India in a long time. It was G20. During the G20, Biden and Trudeau confronted Modi with all the Pannogate-related issues, but they didn't leak it to the press because they didn't want to spoil Modi's G20 or India. So out of respect for Modi, so Modi had this importance. He came to Washington, gave addresses. So he was all over the place. If you notice, he was at, and now suddenly, where does Modi go? Modi goes to Trinidad, goes to Ghana. His level has come down. He's avoiding some of the biggest venues. See, the last 5 days have been very critical for Asia. You had the ASEAN summit in Kuala Lumpur, followed by the East Asia summit, followed by the APEC summit. And Modi is missing all of this. I don't think he was invited to APEC, but the other two, he could have gone. And from a strategic point of view, tomorrow, Donald Trump meets Xi Jinping. Modi could have had a 2-day advantage. He could have already met Donald Trump day before yesterday in Kuala Lumpur. And I think it's a dereliction of duty that Modi, in order to save his personal career, because I think Modi is afraid that Donald Trump is going to put his hand around Modi's shoulder in front of cameras and say, come on, why don't you tell them that I told you to stop, otherwise I would not give you the trade agreement. Then Modi doesn't know what to do, because he's going to be first facing a camera, and he cannot lie, because then you don't know what Trump will come back with immediately. He will immediately say something. I mean, everybody has seen what happened to Zelensky on live camera. So I think Modi is not going to be on live camera with Trump for a while, until this Operation Sindoor issue dies or Trump wins the Nobel Prize. So I think this whole idea of India's foreign policy being served by the personal diplomacy of Modi, that era is over.
That's this is quite a hard-hitting thing, but I wonder if Prime Minister Modi would really accept it, or the diplomats, the foreign diplomats who are working backroom, would they ever admit this? I'm sure they do realize this, but till how long can Modi continue to remain silent? A manner in which Rahul Gandhi has almost challenged Modi. But don't be scared, Modi ji, find the courage to respond. Now, this is very free. So
the first thing is that he's not silent. I mean, it's not true to say that he's not silent. He's been praising Trump on several occasions. He responded to the Diwali greetings. He congratulated him on the Gaza peace accords. He took the phone call for Diwali. And there is no readout about what was the conversation that happened. Donald Trump says that he talked about the ceasefire, etc. And Modi's tweet says that we agreed to combat terrorism. in all its forms. So entirely two different things were said by both sides. But I think Donald Trump is having fun at the expense of Modi. He is using the Operation Sindoor to put pressure. And to be honest, I keep complaining about mainstream Indian media that they have no investigative journalism anymore in India. So you have to rely on Washington Post to expose Adani and other things. Why aren't these things happening in India, right? You have access, you are right there. There used to be the Tehelka days. We don't see those things anymore. That's one thing that is happening. But the second thing is that in India's the strategic community is also very quiet. They are unwilling to discuss what has happened with India's military, because the rest of the world, I'm sure everybody has international access, right? Important professors in India are talking to professors in other fields, and they know that most of the world has accepted the fact that Pakistan overachieved during Operation Sindoor. And that is why there were so many changes. Now, I have an article coming out in a couple of days. We can talk about that later when it comes out. So, for example, Kuwait, after 19 years, started reissuing visas to Pakistanis. So Saudi Arabia said, oh my God, if they can stand up to India, then they can stand up to Israel. So let's have a defense pact with Pakistan. And then the Qataris are giving $3 billion and so on and so forth. So why would the entire world, including the United States, suddenly elevate Pakistan after Operation Sindoor? Because whatever the truth is, in their estimate, Pakistan overperformed and India underperformed. And there is no doubt about that at all.
Means that Trump is looking at Pakistan as a more viable option than India. In fact, Marco Rubio just 2-3 days ago, he said that, the friendship with Pakistan doesn't come at the cost of India's friendship. But if you look at the conduct of Donald Trump, what he says in public, he ultimately ends up embarrassing Modi now and then. No matter whether he accepts it or not, but he ends up heaping lavish praises for Pakistan, and he ends up embarrassing Prime Minister Modi.
Not only that, Marco Rubio is the furthest away from Trump in terms of foreign policy. Everything that Trump says, Marco Rubio, sugarcoats it. But J.D. Vance does not. They're very clear. These two are, I think, the front runners of U.S. foreign policy. So in a way, what Marco Rubio said is giving India a taste of its own medicine. For example, India keeps saying that we believe in strategic autonomy. We will have relations with China and we will have relations with America. We will be part of the Quad and we will be part of the BRICS. So that is what Rubio is saying. This is not a zero-sum game. We need India for certain things. We will reach out to India for those things. We need Pakistan for other things. We will reach out to Pakistan. But they also realize that by elevating Pakistan, it gives America another leverage against India. So that is a worrying thing. But if you notice, one of the things that people are not noticing is that not only is Prime Minister Modi in hiding, so to speak, from major events now, but also the status of Dr. Jaishankar has diminished significantly. Nobody is talking about him, and the speech that he gave in Kuala Lumpur, on one of the shows, I actually read out some of him verbatim what he said. He's saying platitudes, meaningless platitudes. As if it's like a professor who has not prepared for his class is just, saying general things which cannot be contested, but nothing very specific at the ASEAN summit. And I think that suddenly you find that that foreign policy, which had sort of become the strength of Prime Minister Modi and BJP, has suddenly become its Achilles heel. You are muted. Yeah.
No. So what I'm asking is that, so how will this trade agreement going to end up? You are saying that India is already on the brink of giving concessions on two things, and that the one is on the Russian oil bit and the other one is on the soya meal. Does India really have a scope to further its interest, or does it really have that kind of a bandwidth where it can work around things still with Donald Trump? Or do you think all that is over?
So, unfortunately, there is there isn't a single serious discussion on the Indian side on foreign policy. Like I can't point to an interview either by Jaishankar or Goyal or anything else. There are random comments. We don't negotiate under gun and stuff like that. But there's no systematic addressing of the issues. We hear some from Scott Bessent, but we are hearing only the American point of view. But what people are not realizing is, let me give you an example. There was an article, I think, about how in Tamil Nadu, many garment manufacturers have gone out of business already because they're not getting this. So people who had moved from, say, UP and Bihar to Tamil Nadu to work in garment factories, which was making undergarments, have now left Tamil Nadu, moved to Karnataka to become construction worker, laborers, mazdoor. Can you imagine that you're moving your whole family because you lost your job? So already that 50% tariffs, and Nilu, it's not just 50%. In specific cases, it goes up to 64% tariffs. Like the carpet factory in UPs, they are completely shut down. They're not getting any orders from the US. So people have lost their jobs already. What people don't understand is India's delay of getting a deal with Trump and reducing the tariffs is already doing damage to a lot of people who are losing their businesses, especially the small scale and medium industries are losing their jobs and they are losing their orders. And there has been no redirection. Like China has redirected its exports incredibly, but not India. And there's no accountability. Like people are saying, like, what is this delay? Don't you realize if you delayed another quarter, can you imagine the damage it is going to do? So whatever you're exporting is at 50%. In fact, the number that is being quoted, if there is an agreement, is that India might get something like 15 or 16%. So imagine, why are you delaying going from 50% tariffs to 16% tariffs? Save 34% and save jobs and businesses. And I think that at least people like Rahul Gandhi and Ramesh should ask this question very specifically as to that how much does it cost India in loss of trade with every day you delay an agreement with the United States?
Yeah, that's a significant question. But for now, they are just harping on whatever Donald Trump says every now and then. So they pick on whatever he has said and they tweet, this is how what's happening. And Jairam Ramesh tries and keeps account of like how many times he's spoken about mediation and what has happened in Operation Sindoor. But coming back to this 7 new brand new beautiful planes, this particular phrase and the adjective which he has added, does it now totally point fingers to the fact that India lost 7 planes, or is it something incredible? And that's a statement which should be taken with a pinch of salt. What Donald Trump has said about the planes.
So my perception is that he's threatening Modi by saying that if you come back with any nasty comment, I will say that India lost 7. Or I will tell you how many India lost. Because the Pakistanis have not claimed 7, they have claimed 6, if you notice. So if the Pakistanis are claiming 6, and then which is the 7th one which was lost, right? Is that the one that India claims is shot down, especially an early warning aircraft? And India's Air Chief Marshal also messed it up. Like 3 months later, he suddenly wakes up and says, we may have destroyed 6 aircraft, this and that. And especially, I mean, let me tell you this much, that if you're going to lie, don't lie about F-16s, because here we know exactly where each and every F-16 is. So yeah, you could have claimed that Pakistan lost 12 JF-17s or anything like that. But I think that Donald Trump in the first 20 times that he said, he never mentioned the loss of jets. Then he started mentioning specifically. And that is a provocation, because it's not a big deal to lose 5-6 aircraft. Russia has lost literally hundreds in its war against Ukraine. But the point that he's trying to make is there's also a domestic politics for Trump. Trump got very upset with Canada because of the advertisements that they have done. Because what he's doing with tariffs is unconstitutional. Trump does not have the authority, according to the US Constitution, to impose tariffs on countries. He has some emergency powers, and he's just expanded it beyond its scope. So there is going to be a Supreme Court hearing, and Donald Trump is trying to make the point that tariffs are critical to the national security of the US. And so
Yes.
you should not take this away from me. And and then he has added that part. He said the reason why I was able to stop two nuclear powers from going to war is because I used trade and tariffs, right?
Yes.
So Trump's message is not just for Modi and India, it is also for the US Supreme Court saying that, look, if I didn't have tariffs, we would have had a nuclear war going on in South Asia, which will destroy the environment and everybody will suffer. It's not just India.
So, what case is going on repeating the same rhetoric on India and Pakistan? I think it's got to do more with the Supreme Court then.
No, it has multiple benefits. You could say that one, it keeps Modi in check. I mean, he has basically boxed Modi, right? Now, Modi is not able to go to many important events, etc. So you could say that he has diminished the stature of India as a major world power because India is staying out of big issues because they don't want to be with Trump in the same room. And Trump is going everywhere. It's amazing how much Trump is traveling.
Speaks. Should he be speaking? Shouldn't he be breaking silence? Or is this like a tactical silence he's adopted, which works for him?
So Modi has realized that anything that he says will be used against him. It's like a criminal, right? Anything that you say will be used against him. So if he makes a mistake, every election campaign, he will be used. If you remember the what are those Mangal Sutra comment that he made, or
Yes.
Babar ki aulad, or topis, and all of them come back to haunt him. So he has realized that he has to, because if he doesn't say the things he says, he loses his constituency. And in order to keep his constituency, he says certain things that gets into trouble with others. So he's letting other people do the dirty work. Basically, right now, is the chief of air staff, the Air Chief Marshal of India. What is his name? Mr. Singh is the one who is doing all the dirty work by claiming things which is not very credible at all, really. And no one is saying that. No one believes that. And it has undermined India's credibility also on the international. Not only that, see, India now claims that it has zero tolerance for terrorism, and then they say we condemn terrorism in all its forms, right? And then you give Taliban the red carpet.
Yes.
Like for 6 days, you let Muttaqi do whatever you wanted. I can't think of any other foreign minister. Muttaqi is an acting foreign minister, by the way, not even a real one. So no foreign minister has had his will in Washington, in Delhi, the way Muttaqi did. Like it was a bizarre situation. Only Netanyahu in America gets the kind of attention that Muttaqi was getting. He went to a think tank. He went to Vivekananda International Foundation. He had 2 press conferences, then went to Deoband. And I keep telling Deobandis someone should leak that they did this under pressure from India's Ministry of External Affairs. So I think there's some problem in the thinking. To give you another important point, India keeps saying that we want to keep India-Pakistan issues bilateral. We don't want to get anybody else involved. And then India sends a multi-party parliamentary delegation to 36 countries. India was making it a multilateral issue by inviting everybody, other countries, to opine on what happened between India and Pakistan. If you want to keep it bilateral, keep it bilateral. So there is some profound inconsistencies that are happening in India's foreign policy now that we didn't see a year or two ago.
I'm also very curious about knowing what is, like you were mentioning about the emergency powers which Donald Trump is using. There's a whole lot of reports which say that he's trying to seek a third term, which apparently the speaker has said that it's legally not possible, constitutionally not possible. How far do you think that Donald Trump can really move forward as far as his third term is concerned? He can do bizarre things, but will he be permitted to do this?
So there are, constitutionally speaking, there is no pathway. The 22nd Amendment that was passed in 1951 after we had a president who was elected 4 times. So the FDR. So what we have done is that we have made it very clear. If you read the Amendment 22nd, it very clearly says you can't have a third term. But there are cute ways that Donald Trump also didn't like it, that he runs as a vice president candidate. And then So if someone wins as president, why will J.D. Vance then resign and make Trump the president, which is kind of a very silly thing, right? If J.D. Vance is nominated as a Republican nominee, he might just turn around and not nominate Trump as his vice presidential candidate. That's one way. The other is that he gets elected to the Congress and then becomes the Speaker of the House. And then the president and the vice president resign for him. This is a bit too much. Only Steve Bannon, the MAGA strategy thinker, is insisting on this. And unless they try to change the Constitution, they can repeal the Amendment 22, but it will take a long time for the process itself. Trump probably will be in his late 90s. Yes. So it's not going to happen. The only thing is that if you notice, Putin accuses Zelensky of being illegitimate ruler of Ukraine because they have not had elections. So Zelensky said in Trump's presence that the reason why we have not had elections is because our constitution says when we are at war, we can't have. So Trump said, oh, that's a good one. So would you go to war in order to not have elections? That has never happened in the US history. So I think this is just chatter. It is just to drive liberals and Democrats crazy. But I'm not very sure. Plus, he also in the same interview said that we don't need me. We have very good people. Unlike the Democrats, we have J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio who are ready to go. So he's not worried. He thinks that the MAGA agenda is now so deeply embedded in the Republican agenda that there are more Trump-like people in power now than there ever were. So I don't think there will be a third term.
One last question before I wind up the interview, Dr. Khan, and that is...
let me just share one point quickly. Yesterday,
yes.
4 Republicans voted with Democrats in the Senate to basically say that Trump's tariffs on Brazil are unconstitutional and illegal. So he lost 52-48 in the Senate. So already you can see that some Republicans are becoming a bit more uncomfortable with his tariff agenda, etc. So they will not allow him to violate the Constitution. That's the point.
Right. One question which I really wanted to ask you, and that is my last question to you, and that is, all this chatter, how India has lost out on the foreign policy front. India doesn't know how to respond. India has miserably failed on all the fronts. But what is the prescription? How should India be responding to Donald Trump? Should it respond with this kind of a silence? It's like a deafening silence.
So the problem is that they are victims and prisoners of their own previous rhetoric. Like, how often have you heard that they have personal charisma and personal relations? My friend, all this rubbish, no one is going to compromise their national interests because their friend is the head of an opposing country. So India has done a lot of that. They have promoted Modi at the expense of India's national interests a lot of times. So now they don't know what to do, because to promote India's national interest, it is very clear what they need to do. But they are also struggling to protect Modi's image. And that is where India is suffering from a cognitive dissonance. Prime Minister Modi the problem with Prime Minister Modi is that either he will have to lie and say we lost no jets. Unfortunately, like if you go to Wikipedia and look at the casualties in the last war, Kargil war between India and Pakistan, you notice that India honestly acknowledged how many Indians were killed. Whereas Pakistanis not only hid the fact, but there are some cases where they have not even collected the bodies of their own soldiers because they wanted to hide the fact as it. So India, if it could acknowledge that it lost, why has India given up that tradition? India is a democracy. It should have come out and said very clearly. In fact, the Chauhan character, the whatever, CDS, Chief of Defense, whatever, in Singapore, he said very clearly that we made mistakes in the first few hours, and then we corrected ourselves and we came back and did. And the mistake was that India was, I don't want to go into detail, but what India should have done was first taken out Pakistan's air defense system and then attacked. And because they didn't take out Pakistan's air defense system, they lost 2 or 3 Rafale and 3 jets. That was the correction that they made the second time when they attacked Pakistan's air defense system, and Pakistan then became defenseless, right? India then destroyed many of their military bases, etc. So Chauhan has more or less acknowledged that the first day, which is the night of the 6th and 7th of May, didn't go well. So Modi should have acted on it, or he should have used, the defense minister, and I mean, he could have compromised Rajnath Singh and said, go out there and tell them the truth.
So tricky times for India and also for the world, as long as Donald Trump continues to conduct himself like this. Thank you so much, Dr. Khan. It was a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.